Well, welcome to Sunday of Monterey Whale Fest 2018. We're so happy that you gave up part of your day to come down here. We have another wonderful day of programs, speakers, presentations, all kinds of great stuff having to do with whales and, of course, with the ocean. My name is Steve Elzy. I'm with Your Sanctuary TV, and it is always an honor to be able to stand here and introduce these fabulous guests. First of all, minor housekeeping. We are very thankful to our sponsors also. The Fishermen's Wharf Association does a lot of work and gives a lot of money to Whale Fest. So let's give it up for them, the Fishermen's Wharf folks. And a quick note, too, another one of our sponsors is Access Monterey. That's our local television station, and they are recording every single one of these presentations. And then it's my job to send them out to 450 stations across the country and in Europe. And so we get a lot of play with this type of presentation, and we want you to know that you're out there, and this is out there. And if you go to Your Sanctuary TV, on YouTube, in about 3 weeks you can see any one of these presentations or any presentation for the last 2 years. Wow! I don't even know what I just said. All right. Opening up the day, this is going to be a lot of fun. Heirs To Our Ocean, a group of youth leaders who are dedicated to inspiring awareness, responsibility, and action to protect our world's water resources. And that's enough out of me. Let's go to Heirs To the Oceans. Thank you very much.
Take a deep breath with me. 1 out of every 2 breaths we take is gifted to us by the oceans. We live on a water planet. This is what our blue planet looks like from outer space, 1 million miles away. We don't just live on a water planet. We are of it, a part of it. We are made mostly of water. We need our water as our cognitive, spiritual, psychological, emotional health depends upon our being in, on, and around it. Heirs to Our Oceans are youth leaders dedicated to mobilizing and empowering our generation globally to protect our oceans for us, our kids, and our grandkids. We want healthy, clean ocean and waterways well after today's adults are done with them. Protecting our oceans, the blue heart of our planet, matters to us. Now let my fellow heir Dakota tell you why.
Thank you. So, when I was little, my dream was to become a pirate. I wanted to sail the seas and plunder for gold. So, I took a sailing camp in the San Francisco Bay in these tiny little Pico boats. And while we were sailing on the rough waters, a pod of harbor porpoises came up right next to us. This experience was beautiful for me. So I went home and I started researching these harbor porpoises because I wanted to learn more. And what I found out was that they had just come back to the San Francisco Bay after being gone over 65 years. I wanted to learn more about what happens underneath this flat blue plane of water that we barely know anything about. So I started researching marine mammals. And the moment when a passion was ignited inside of me was when I was kayaking with my family in Santa Cruz. And we heard this high-pitched squealing. And we wanted to know what it was. So we kayaked a little further and we saw this little log thing. We didn't know what it was. And we started to figure out that it was a baby sea otter. And it was by itself. Its mother was not around. And we started to worry, wondering if it had been abandoned and if we should call someone to rescue it. And so we backed up and we just watched it for a few minutes. But then its mother came out and took it in its arms. And that moment was so beautiful and so inspiring for me. I wanted to make sure that these beautiful creatures were protected. So I started researching more about sea otters, and I found out that not only are they a keystone species because they eat urchins and protect kelp, and kelp gives us oxygen, but they are also being threatened by many things, including the runoff of fertilizer. So when we have lots of fertilizer going into our oceans, it can cause devastating effects on our marine life, including dead zones and domoic acid. So I decided, as an heir, my focus area and what I would be researching is sea otters and land sea pollution. Land sea pollution is pollution that originates on land and ends up in the ocean. And this also includes sewage runoff. As you may have heard, recently in Monterey, there has been 4.9 million gallons of raw sewage that has been dumped into our beautiful bay, which was really devastating for all the marine life. So now I'd like to pass it off to my fellow heir, Abby, to tell you about her focus area, whales and climate change.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Abby, and I am focusing on whales because I find that they're so important to me. Most people I talk to out there about whales say that they are large, beautiful, and going extinct. I feel that is not enough. We need to raise the level of awareness about these whales. They help us by living and even while dying. So over last year, as a founding member of Heirs To Our Oceans, I researched on 3 ways whales are natural carbon dioxide regulators and are helping with global climate change. The first way is whale feces fertilization. The second way is whales playing a role as a carbon sink. And finally, the third way is whale falls. Simply put, when they poop, they help us. When they live, they help us. And even while dying, they help us. Now let me explain. First of all, whale feces is food for phytoplankton, which are small microscopic plants in the ocean. A good supply of this food can cause phytoplankton bloom, which not only sequesters thousands of tons of carbon from our atmosphere annually, but also produces oxygen. In fact, phytoplankton and other marine botanicals are responsible for producing at least half of the oxygen we breathe. This means that 1 out of every 2 breaths we take is gifted to us by the oceans. Secondly, whales play a role of a carbon sink. What this means is that carbon readily sinks or gets absorbed into the whale's body, and the whale becomes a carbon storage. And finally, because a whale is a carbon sink and ultimately a carbon storage, when they die naturally and fall to the ocean floor, all of the carbon stored in their bodies goes down with them, where it can never be released ever again. So most people don't realize that whaling is more than just killing off these beautiful, important creatures, more than just impacting the marine ecosystem. It's fundamentally hurting the whale's carbon sequestration process. Andrew Pershing, who's a research scientist part of a joint session with the University of Maine and the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, said that by removing whales and even sharks and large fish from our marine ecosystem, we're reducing the amount of carbon stored in these populations. What this means is that by whaling and taking these whales from their marine ecosystem, the carbon stored in their bodies goes back up into the atmosphere, reversing this carbon sequestration process. Protecting these whales are important to us because if we don't and keep continuing our unthinking ways, the toll on the environment will become too great for us to even live here. A century of whaling is equivalent to the burning of more than 24 million acres of forest, or 28,000 SUVs driving around for 100 years, says Andrew Pershing. We are on our way to more. So, as an heir to our ocean, and as a cetacean guardian, I feel that learning about these 3 ways has really helped me realize the utter importance of whales in the marine ecosystem and to us. Incidentally, if you're interested in a copy of my research paper on whales and carbon, then you can come to it's at my team's table. So join us. Our destination is everywhere. If we form a globally large community, then we can help our oceans with all of its beautiful whales and beautiful dolphins come back. It's so important to us. Then we can breathe, and we can live. Now, my fellow whale Charlie will talk about derelict fishing gear and whale entanglement.
Hi, my name is Charlie, and one of my focus areas is derelict fishing gear. Raise your hand if you know what derelict fishing gear is. Derelict fishing gear is lost or abandoned fishing gear that entraps and entangles marine life. This is a large problem on our coast for whales. Peter Fulkins, a level 4 whale disentangler, shared with me that in 2016, over 60 whales were entangled. Now look at the numbers of this last year. 2017, only 30 whales were entangled. It may have been half of the year before, but we still have a long way to go to completely help our whales. Most derelict fishing gear is made out of polypropylene. Polypropylene is a type of plastic that can be found in the handles of your toothbrushes. Polypropylene breaks down in sunlight, and it becomes microplastics, which pollute the ocean. My fellow Air Cambria will talk about that a little bit later. Ghost fishing is what happens when derelict fishing gear entraps or entangles a marine animal. Most crab pots or long lines cause ghost fishing, and gill nets and trawls are the ones that cause the most habitat destruction. Next slide, please. It's estimated that 50% of all humpback whales have suffered an entanglement. That's half of all humpback whales. When whales are entangled, they may not be able to breathe. They may not be able to forage for food. They might not be able to take care of their young, or they can lose a flipper or a fluke as the ropes slice through. Sadly, Justin Isbecki, another level 4 whale disentangler, who's also the stranding coordinator for the NOAA in California, shared with me that only 10 to 12 whales can be disentangled per year. That is not nearly enough. And the Turtle Island Restoration Network estimates that California discards 64% of all of its used gill nets. That makes us one of the top contributors worldwide to derelict gill nets. These gill nets can entrap and entangle marine protected species, such as the mola mola, turtles, and sharks. In Puget Sound, derelict crab pots have cost the crab industry $700,000 per year in crabs that have been caught in derelict crab pots. This is not only affecting our oceans, it's affecting our economy. So what can we do? Well, we Airs encourage fishermen to use biodegradable and edible fishing gear and fish traps that have time-release buoys so that after a certain amount of time, the buoy rises to the surface with the trap. Also, less slack line in the water can prevent whales from getting entangled. And what you can do in your everyday life is you can eat sustainably sourced and caught seafood. At our table, we have a small blog about how you can find sustainably sourced seafood. My fellow Air Cambria has a focus area, and she's achieving her job to do in protecting our oceans through looking at plastics.
Hello everyone, my name is Cambria and I study plastic pollution. Can I get a raise of hands of who's seen plastic on our beaches, in a river, or somewhere in the environment? Look around you. All of you raise your hands. Each of us has seen plastic in our environment. This is a material that we have created and it's making its way into the environment where it's not supposed to be. We use plastic, we throw it away, it leaks through our waste management system. And finally, it makes its way to the ocean. In the ocean, plastic breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces called microplastics. Microplastics are a small piece of plastic that are smaller than 5 millimeters, which is about the size of like a pinhead. Very small. Microplastics are kind of grouped into 5 categories. One of them is secondary plastics, and that's what you can see over here. These are bigger pieces of plastics that have broken down in the ocean. Up on top there we have nurdles. Those are pre-production pellets. That's what we use to melt down into the plastics that we use every day. Those over there are micro beads. They come in some facial scrubs, toothpaste, and makeups, and that means that they're being washed down to the drain and into the ocean. Another category is styrofoam or foam. And lastly, we have microfibers. Microfibers are small plastic fibers that wash off our clothing in the washing machine. And in the dryer, we collect these fibers as lint. But in the washing machine, they are not collected, which means they're flushed to a water treatment plant where they can't be filtered out because they're too small. That means they're being pumped into our oceans. In the ocean, plastic is not good news for animals. I talked to Dr. Chelsea Rockman, a scientist at the University of Toronto. She told me during our interview about a study that she performed. She found that 1 in 4 fish that were being sold for our consumption in Indonesia and Half Moon Bay, California, had plastics in their stomachs. Yes, 1 in 4 fish that were being sold for us to eat had plastics in their stomachs. And it's not only fish that are eating these plastics. Next slide, please. This is a baby albatross with a stomach full of plastic. They eat it by accident or mistaking it as food. It fills up their stomach, which doesn't leave room for the nutrients that they need. Turtles mistake plastic bags as jellyfish. Whales have been found with their stomachs full of plastic. Our plastic is harming hundreds of marine life. This is not good. So what can we do about it? Well, like I said, if the plastic is coming from us, why don't we stop it at the source? Why don't we reduce how much plastic we use? I understand that some plastics are important in our life, but I'm talking about single-use plastics. Plastics that we use for 5 minutes and throw away. These plastics are not important. They're not necessary. There are plenty of alternatives. Use reusable water bottles, reusable utensils. Don't use a straw. There are plenty of easy alternatives that all of us can do. I talked to a lady from 5 Gyres at an event last year, and I was just watching her TED Talk a couple of weeks ago, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said that single-use plastics are just habits, and habits can be changed. So I hope that all of you consider reducing your plastic usage to help our oceans. Now I'm going to let Seth tell you a little bit more about our organization and what we do.
Heirs to Our Oceans are youth leaders who are dedicated to inspire awareness, responsibility, and action for youth worldwide to protect our waters of our water planet for us and future generations to come. And we have a mission, which is to empower youth worldwide as heirs to our oceans to become educated leaders and stand up for their futures on our water planet. We are creating the next generation of environmental leaders. 2, we are active. We are active in protecting and helping our oceans. 3, we help adults understand that their everyday lifestyles and decisions on a daily basis affect the health of our oceans and the health of their children. 4, we encourage educators, policymakers, and parents to utilize a learning model where kids develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills through interdisciplinary, project-based learning where all subjects are tied to the real-world issue of tackling our ocean crisis. 5, heirs advocate for children's health. We kids need to be healthy if we are going to think clearly and be active in this world. We ask that our food and water not contain toxins that hurt us and our natural environment. We also ask that our food and water not be packaged in very convenient and poisonous plastic wrap and containers. Heirs also understand the importance of kids being in and around their natural surroundings, as their cognitive, spiritual, physiological, psychological, and emotional well-being depend upon it. For our generation to be successful in saving the oceans, we need to be able to connect to it. That's why it is so important for our next generation to have a blue mind and be consciously aware of the importance of clean water in our lives. And finally, 6, heirs foster hope and optimism and the continued processing of coming up with creative solutions to the problems our oceans face. Those 6 points, that's our job. So how do we get this mission about and create this global upswell? A global movement, which my fellow heir Ashlyn will tell you about now.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashlyn, and as my fellow heir Seth mentioned, we're starting a global movement from the ground up. Our generation is in need of an upswell of heirs to our oceans everywhere, with adults supporting and encouraging. In December 2016, some of my fellow heirs went to Palau, a tiny island nation in Micronesia, and formed a chapter there. The heirs there are now focused on a plastic-free Palau initiative, which is incredibly exciting, as they, along with everyone else globally, become aware of the detriments of plastics in our oceans, which my fellow heir Cambria told you about briefly before. Aside from Palau, we have several other chapters, one in Guam, one in the Pescadero School District here in California, and one in Orange County, California. As you can see, our outreach is going to be local and global. We're going to be supporting and educating other young people, as well as providing them with tools and training, including a portal or a virtual hub, where all heirs can come together to share resources and information as we act as junior scientists and share our findings about human impacts on our oceans as we be part of the solution. We have attended and spoken at many different events and conferences, including the Blue Vision Summit in Washington, D.C. in May of last year. We will participate in any activity that has positive effects for our oceans, including holding camps.
So this last July, Heirs to Our Oceans hosted its first Youth Empowerment and Human Impact on Our Oceans camp in Palau, where youth leaders from 6 different Micronesian islands attended, including Saipan, Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei, Guam, and Palau. At this 10-day camp, where 5 U.S. heirs attended along with 22 Micronesians, the kids learned about human impacts on our oceans through workshops that were created and led by the 5 U.S. heirs, and the subjects that they learned included corals, plastics and the problems with recycling, derelict fishing gear and ghost fishing, land-sea pollution, marine protected areas, and ocean acidification and mollusks. They also learned through in-the-field, hands-on workshops with real scientists and experts. They also learned presentation and leadership skills, because this is also a youth empowerment camp. And they all journaled a portion of a presentation. And then each kid learned how to use GoPro, and then were split into 6 groups of 5, where each group created their own short film about a specific human impact on our oceans. And then finally, we all presented to the community, scientists, ministers, congresspersons, educators of Palau. Not only was this an oral presentation, but this was also a screening of their amazing films. This presentation in camp overall was a huge success, as not only lifelong friends were formed, but also environmental leaders.
As kids, we want to be involved in shaping the world that our children are going to grow up in. We want to learn firsthand how taking care of our environment is taking care of ourselves, and how protecting our planet is protecting our health. Because we know we can't be empowered to act if we're not healthy. And we need to learn about our health in primary and secondary grade, not as adults when illness and old age has already set in. Because everything's interconnected, the health of our world and the health of us. We are unstoppable in trying to get kids to stand up for themselves and their oceans, because we have to be. If not us, who? Our movement isn't the only way we're getting our word out about Heirs to Our Oceans, though. We are starting a global, We're making a feature-length movie documenting our journey in making this global movement, Heirs to Our Oceans, from the ground up. In it, you'll see us researching and working with scientists to learn about human impacts on our oceans so that adults can understand that we are able to learn about the problems we're going to be facing in our lifetimes due to the state of our oceans and waterways now. And so that adults can understand that their daily actions and decisions today are going to affect us in our lifetimes, and it matters to us a lot. You will also see us working with kids. Kids like you and your kids. Kids who join us in becoming heirs to our oceans and waterways. We want this movie to inspire people worldwide to stand up for their oceans and their lifetimes on this blue planet. Would you like to see a teaser?
What is the future of our oceans?
What I see today is really, really scary.
So many people don't know the issues that face our ocean.
I think we are rolling down the hill into what could be really, really bad.
I am an heir, a part of an organization, a global movement, Heirs to Our Oceans.
We want our oceans to be clean for our generation, for the next generation, for the generation after.
We need to rise up. Kids everywhere are going to inherit the problems our oceans face. Let's start now to make a change.
We, as Heirs to Our Oceans, want to raise awareness of the issues that face our oceans today.
I'm hoping to learn that I can make people change without having to make them scared.
We heirs learn about the problems our oceans face: ocean acidification, plastics, warming waters, land-sea pollution, and we work to be a part of the solutions.
What does the marine protected area mean for you as a Palawan youth?
What does ocean conservation mean to you?
To share our message with the world, a movie is being made. It follows our journey of starting a global movement from the ground up, with action, emotion, and some comic relief.
Let's make a spoof of Ghostbusters,
But call it Plastic Busters.
Let's go. Join us. Stand up for your blue planet, your futures, and become heirs. We can be a global team working to protect our planet for our generation and those after us.
If every school had an Heirs to Our Oceans club, we'd probably have this message out pretty fast. I think making this movie is going to really help show people how important our oceans are. If we can take care of the ocean now, then maybe we can prevent it from becoming sick again.
Our oceans face many challenges. We seek your support so we can turn this around.
But I think that the ocean can be saved.
I want to save it so that I can actually have a beautiful ocean and beautiful beaches that are not covered in plastic. If we clean up places where animals are gone, they will come back. We're saving our oceans through a movement and a movie.
We are the next generation of environmental leaders. Together, we can save the blue heart of our planet. We are heirs to our oceans.
On June 9th in Washington, D.C., Heirs to Our Oceans is also going to be at a World Ocean March, where people are coming together to stand up for our oceans, for us, for their kids, for future generations, And if you can, we'd love it if you join us to stand together and fight for our planet, for our oceans. So now we're going to show you a small video about it.
I will march for our oceans and
waterways. In Washington, D.C., our nation's capital.
Para nuestras aguas que sean limpias. Because I care about my future and the future of generations to come.
क्योंकि मेरा और आने वाली पीढ़ी का स्वास हमारी महासागरों और जलमार्गों पर निर्भर करती है.
Because I believe that even though our oceans are polluted, there's still hope.
क्योंकि महासागरों का स्वास लोगों के स्वास पर असर करता है.
Porque yo veo que hay basura en el océano y no queremos que los patos y animales lo comen.
The health of our planet, for our generation, needs policies in place to protect our water.
I cannot live on this blue planet without clean and healthy oceans.
Senza ruscelli, fiumi, laghi, mari e oceani puliti.
Fresh, salt, or brackish, join us in being unstoppable.
Because our nation's leaders need to make decisions that protect the oceans and that protect us.
On June 9th, on Capitol Hill, be with us.
Unete a nosotros.
हमारे साथ चलो.
Be with us.
请跟着我们。
Yangaloro Banga.
Join us! March with us!
Could you please raise the screen, please? Thank you. Thank you. So, I decided to create an ocean rap called Fight for Your Ocean's Rights, based on a very hit musical called Hamilton. You might have heard of it. And I would love to do it with you today with my fellow heirs. So here it is.
Surprisingly soon, we kids, we won't be kids anymore. We will be living adult lives with adult concerns. Concerns such as the futures of our own children. Our world is in danger, and if we don't act now to repair the damage done to our planet, perhaps the children of the future may be unable to enjoy the beautiful beaches that we ourselves have enjoyed. Perhaps the children of the future may be unable to safely go outside at all due to the density of air pollution. I know that I don't want a future like that for anyone. Nobody does. And that is why, if we educate our youth and let their voices be heard, we can turn the destruction of our natural world around. We can create a generation of active, empowered, determined people who will fight for the good of our oceans, our waterways, and human health. People who will come together for a common cause, regardless of political affiliation or belief system. The health of the planet affects everyone. This movement needs every voice out there, and we cannot leave anyone behind. In the short year that I have been affiliated with Heirs to Our Oceans, I have already seen change at home. I have seen friends and family attempting to reduce their carbon emissions, shopping consciously, letting environmental concerns influence their voting decisions, and doing things as simple as picking up trash on the beach when they see it. I have seen people who never before gave the planet a second thought, starting to care about and trying to understand the damage humans are doing. I am seeing people who are changing their lifestyles, their mindsets, their views for the good of our oceans, our waterways, and our children. This kind of inspirational change makes me believe, makes me know that our future is a bright one. I am sure that with everyone's help, we can and we will achieve our mission because we have to. We hope that you join us. So, all of you want to join us, right? Who wants to help support us? You can, there are many ways you can come visit us at our table. We've got a table out there. We'll give you more information, got some research papers. We can sign some autographs if you want, you know. You can email us, info@Heirs2Our Oceans. You can visit our website, www.heirstoorouroceans.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, so check us out. Give us a call. We'll present at your school. We'll inspire your children. Come on, who wants to join us? So, who remembers this marble from earlier in the presentation? Y'all remember this? Not only does this symbolize our blue planet from 1 million miles away, but this marble is also a symbol of gratitude, of our gratitude. Thank you for protecting our blue planet. So, I'm sure some of you may have some questions after all that. My fellow heirs will be remaining on stage, and if any of you have any questions, we will be happy to answer them.
All right. Before we do that, we can go down the line, and each heir can say their name and area of focus. So.
I'm Shay Barton.
I'm Grace Jones.
I'm Abby, and I focus on cetaceans, dolphins, whales, and porpoises.
I'm Seth, and I focus on ocean noise pollution, offshore oil drilling, and captive cetaceans.
I'm Charlie, and I focus on coral, derelict fishing gear, and issues that come with recycling.
My name is Dakota, and I focus on land sea pollution and sea otters as keystone species.
I am Cambria, and like I said earlier, I study plastic pollution.
I'm Ashlyn, and my focus area is ocean policy.
So do y'all have any questions about any focus areas specifically or Heirs to Our Oceans in general? Yes? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Oh, you have a question? What, sorry? Oh.
Yeah, so there are actually right now, there are bags that you can wash your clothing in that will catch the fibers. You can also install things on your washing machine to help with that, though that's kind of expensive and still in researching.
We looked at that before, actually,
Yeah.
just to get, but it doesn't get the small things, it only gets the big things.
Mhm.
So if I was going to get the microfibers, those really small
Yeah.
things, I would have to be constantly pulling them out and washing them off, which if there was a way to do that, of course I would do that.
Yeah.
There's that little like ball.
So I'm wondering if there's
Yeah. There's those little ball things. There's these little tiny like ball things that like kind of like magnets to the microfibers. So it like attaches to them. I think you can find them online.
That's really smart. I'm going to check that out.
Yes.
Thank you. It's called a Ceraball, C-E-R-A.
Yes.
Yeah, you put it in the washer, and it collects. I'd use anything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if we wanted to bring your group over to a school,
Yeah.
do we just go to the website, or how does that
Yeah, you can. At our table, we have an email list, so you can put your email down there and then write like wants to present at school or want us to present at school. Or we also have a website, www.heirstoorouroceans.com. Shay already mentioned that, and you can contact us there as well. Yeah, our email is info@heirstoorouroceans.com. You can just let us know, and we will come over and present. And anywhere we can reach out to.
I'm homeschooled, so that's pretty awesome.
All the founding heirs are homeschooled, and then we've started some chapters. Grace and Shay are from the Pescadero Middle School chapter.
Yeah, so as founding heirs, we learn through Heirs to Our Oceans. It's not quite homeschooling because we're not at home with a textbook. We're actually going around to our fellow heirs' houses and attending different classes there. So we're all we're 9 to 17, so like 4th grade through high school. Yeah. Okay, thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciated all your. Oh yeah, one last question. Sure.
I'm 12 years old, so I'm in 7th grade.
I'm 13.
12 years old. 13.
I'm 13.
11.
12. 13.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.